Today, we're going to dive into one of those verses from the Bible that just kind of stops you in your tracks. It reads like a mysterious riddle from an ancient king. It talks about buying gold that's been tested by fire, white clothes to cover your shame, and even a special salve for your eyes. So, what on earth could all that mean? Well, let's decode it together. So, here it is, Revelation 3:18. And if you just read it straight, it sounds, well, bizarre. Is this some kind of strange financial and medical advice? But no, this is actually divine counsel given to a church in a city called Laodicea. And as we're about to see, every single word here is symbolic. It's all pointing to a much deeper, spiritual kind of transaction. And this really gets to the heart of the mystery, doesn't it? What exactly is this gold tried in the fire? And how could you possibly buy it anyway? To figure this out, we've got to break this phrase down word by word and see what secrets it's holding. Okay, let's start with that first piece of advice. Buy of me gold tried in the fire. Every single part of that phrase is a key. So let's start unlocking them one by one. The very first word is buy. And, immediately our minds jump to money, to commerce, to some kind of marketplace. But this isn't about a financial transaction at all. We have to look a lot deeper to understand what's really being offered here. So here's where it gets really interesting. The original Greek word used here is agorazo, and this completely changes the meaning. It's not about purchasing something with currency. It's about redemption. It's about receiving something through faith. A better way to think of it is like trading in our own self-sufficiency for a priceless, freely offered gift. And, this idea of a spiritual purchase, it shows up elsewhere in the Bible too. The prophet Isaiah invites people to buy without money. And later, the Apostle Peter explains that real redemption isn't bought with silver or gold, but with something far more precious. So yeah, we're firmly in the realm of faith here, not finance. Okay, so what is this gold that we're supposed to acquire? Well, as you might have guessed, we're still talking in metaphors. This is not about stacking up gold bars. This gold symbolizes something that is truly priceless, the righteousness and the new kind of life that Jesus offers. It's true spiritual value. But it's not just any gold. It's gold that has been tried. The Greek word here is dokimazo, which means it's been tested, proven genuine. The image this conjures up is so powerful. Imagine a goldsmith holding a piece of metal over this intense fire, just burning away every single impurity, all the dross, until only the pure, gleaming substance is left. And this isn't just some one-off metaphor. This idea of a divine refining process runs deep throughout Scripture. The prophet Malachi actually pictures God as a refiner of silver. Zechariah writes about God testing people just like gold. And then Peter makes the connection crystal clear, saying that a faith that has survived the fire is far more valuable than any physical gold. So what exactly is this fire? Well, according to our source, the fire symbolizes God's holy presence itself. It's a purifying power. It's a force that burns away everything that's fake and reveals what's genuine. In fact, the source describes its power as being as intense and as sudden as lightning. And what's the ultimate result of this entire process? The verse says that you may be rich, but we're not talking about money in the bank. Being spiritually rich in this context means possessing the full inheritance of salvation, complete forgiveness, adoption into God's family, and a life of true spiritual abundance. All right, so we've decoded the meaning of the refined gold. But the counsel in this verse is really like a three-part remedy. Next, it moves from our spiritual wealth to our spiritual appearance and our spiritual perception. The verse then addresses this problem of the shame of thy nakedness. Now, this isn't about physical clothing, of course. It symbolizes that spiritual shame that comes from our own flawed efforts and our pride. And the divine solution that's offered isn't something we can make ourselves, but something we're given, white raiment. This white raiment is another really key symbol. It stands for a kind of purity and righteousness that can only be received from Christ. This isn't a covering we earn through good deeds. It's a gift that signifies victory and grace. So we've talked about spiritual wealth and spiritual clothing. The final part of the counsel gets personal. It addresses our spiritual vision. It actually diagnoses a kind of blindness and then offers a surprising remedy, an eye salve. This eye salve obviously isn't for our physical eyes. It symbolizes spiritual discernment, the ability to finally see things from God's perspective. It's the divine cure for that kind of blindness that keeps us from seeing what is truly real. Okay, we've looked at the gold, the white clothes, and the eye salve. Now it is time to put all of these pieces back together. What is the big picture message of this incredibly packed verse? Well, it really boils down to 5 powerful lessons. First, that true riches are spiritual, not material. Second, that real faith, just like gold, has to be tested by fire. Third, our spiritual shame can only be covered by the righteousness of Christ. Fourth, spiritual blindness can only be cured by a divine remedy. And finally, and this is huge, all of this is an invitation to be restored, not a threat of punishment. When you look at it this way, you see that the verse is really all about a great exchange. It's an invitation to trade in our worldly pride and our self-sufficiency for a faith that's been proven genuine. We trade our shame and nakedness for the covering of Christ's righteousness, and we trade our spiritual blindness for true divine discernment. Ultimately, this verse becomes this powerful declaration of grace. As the quote puts it, these incredible gifts, true spiritual wealth, purity, and sight, they can't be earned. They are given freely to anyone who is willing to trade the temporary for the eternal. And so, that leaves us with this question. This ancient counsel from over 2,000 years ago isn't just some historical artifact. It's a timeless invitation that is still open today. The final question, for all of us, is, are we making that trade?